I feel like there are like, obviously not all the customers, but there are a select portion of the customers, maybe like, I don't know, 20% or so that are just so lovely and you feel so appreciated and it doesn't feel like so much work. Like it is a lot of work, but then when you get the people who really kind of see you as a human being and want to like dote on you and pay for your time and make you feel like when someone says thank you, like I try to always say thank you to the customer because
Mhm.
they're paying to spend time with
Yeah.
me. But then when the other person's like, no, actually, thank you so much. Like, I've been going through a divorce. I've been like, my mom died. Like they start sharing so much
Wow.
personal stuff where they're like, oh, I feel so lonely. And you were so kind to like give me a warm space to feel loved for,
Hmm.
5 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is. They feel like they have a safe, comfortable space. And, I feel like there are these really human moments of connection where a lot of the people just really don't have anyone to make them feel held and safe. And I think that being able to provide that for people that really value our time and our boundaries and everything is actually like very beautiful and very healing.
Welcome to the Weekly Transit. Interviews and conversations from an astrological perspective. I'm your host, Scott Tajarian, and I'm here with my former co-host, Ingrid. If you're new to the podcast and you don't know who she is, but most of you have probably been listening to the podcast for long enough to know Ingrid. We started the podcast back in April of 2020, did it for 3.5 years, and then ended our partnership about a year ago. But she's back, and I'm so excited to have her here as my first guest of the podcast. It seems pretty appropriate that my first guest of the podcast would be my former co-host. So welcome back, Ingrid. Ingrid is here with her co-host of her new podcast, Naked and Ambitious. Her co-host is Karina Rossi, and I'm really excited to discuss their new podcast. So their new podcast, Naked and Ambitious, is now Ingrid. We know her as Ingrid, but in the podcast, her name is Mina White. So Mina and Karina are exotic pole hustlers and personal growth besties. And Naked and Ambitious is a podcast where they share the unfiltered versions of their lives as exotic dancers. Mina, aka Ingrid, is an ambitious, money-motivated exotic dancer who loves food, fitness, and self-care, creative by day, designing, editing, and producing content for herself as well as other inspiring brands and creators for other inspiring brands and creators. And it's so indicative of your ascendant, Ingrid, as the Gemini, where you are an exotic dancer by night, but a creative designer by day. It's like you have these two personalities. And then Karina has always been deeply passionate about dancing, fitness, and living a healthy lifestyle. And after spending 5 years in the corporate biotech industry in the UK, she transitioned into a wellness coach and traveling exotic dancer. So welcome back to the Weekly Transit, Ingrid. Welcome, Karina. Great to have you both here. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for having us.
We are happy to be here.
Awesome. Now tell us where you are, because it feels very appropriate
Well,
almost. It's like you're in the dark, which is like the exotic dancing vibe. It's like you're in the night and I'm in the
we're
day. So
we're the pitch black. I mean, we got ready accidentally 5 hours early, so it was afternoon because we got confused and overexcited. But now we have positioned ourselves in front of the window and it's now evening time. So we are in
Saint Lucia Island
amazing.
in Caribbean.
Amazing. What have you been doing over there?
Well, we spent a week in Barbados first for a pole dancing camp.
Mm-hmm.
So we were training pole dancing for a week. It was kind of like a vacation, but also a lot of training. So, and a lot of meeting new people. So that was really great. And now we flew into St. Lucia just for 3 days to really enjoy the island. And we are on the way to the third island, which is Guadeloupe. And we plan on
We're gonna go dance up there.
dance
Oh.
there. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. So it's a business trip in a very
Yes,
exotic
I mean
place.
the whole thing. Yeah,
Exotic
I feel like
dancing
the
in
whole
an
thing is
exotic
like
place.
a vacation, but like there's mostly a work
Work,
trip.
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
working holiday, kind of everything
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, even the pole dancing retreat or camp was to me more work. It was very work oriented, very physical, covered in bruises, so sore, like trying to meet all the girls and there's one other stripper there, but everyone else was like professional teacher pole dancer, not nightlife oriented at all. So it was
Oh.
very interesting. Everyone was so supportive and kind, which
Hmm.
I actually have not felt in LA from the pole dancing community there. I've never really had a pole dancing community at all because I didn't really enjoy, or I don't know, people weren't as interested or community oriented.
Yeah, I
there.
mean, there's still a lot of stigma even in pole dance studios.
Really?
And a lot of studios are not friendly to strippers.
Really?
And so, yeah, that's very real, especially in Europe, maybe more than in the US. I'm not sure, but still, you say
Well,
that's true. So
one of the girls was saying, two of the girls were teachers for a place in Arizona, and they were like, oh, yeah, they tell you in the history when we are training the women, the owner says, like, oh, tell them where it comes from. It obviously comes from stripping and the strip club and whatever, like history of the art.
Yes.
But then she's very specific, like, that's not what we do here. We don't have dim lights. We don't have colored lights. Absolutely not. You can't come shoot here. Very, like, maybe not specifically dancer. This isn't for people in the dancing industry, but kind of like insinuating like that's not part of what we do. We are professional choreographers. We have nothing to do with that. And they said that it was kind of an unattractive quality of the owner of the studio not being super open to opening it up to people, because people like to go film in these studios because it's very beautiful and you can have cool lights. But they were like, no, that she does not want that here.
Wow. That's in LA?
It's
Arizona,
in Arizona. I don't know if I
Arizona.
should say it's in Arizona. I guess Arizona's big.
So,
yeah, I mean, we know.
Go ahead.
We know studios that are very like open to strippers, and we know studios that are complete opposite. So both is true, basically.
It's interesting that there would be such a stigma around strippers in a pole dancing studio when pole dancing literally comes from strippers. Right?
Yes. Very, very ironic.
Yes. Wow. Okay. Wow. So there is such a stigma to stripping, I guess, still, or sex work in general. Would you agree?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like even now I still am kind of selective on who I'm really sharing it with. Like, am I saying I'm a stripper, or am I saying I'm a dancer, or am I just not even addressing that at all and just saying I do like logos and branding and maybe like podcast producing and kind of leaving the dancing part out of it because it can be a strange conversation.
Yes, I mean, it's everywhere. Even when we posting things and we doing this podcast, we have to be very careful how we word things and what we put in captions. So we not shadow banned, or we not, we not banned, or our posts are actually visible. And actually, we already been.
Yeah, almost every single post has been like, oh, we're not showing this to anyone, and being like appealing.
Really?
Being like, okay, how do we say it without, we can't say stripping. They don't want us to say that. Like, just a lot of little things of how you word stuff.
Wow.
Because they don't want it to be part of their platforms.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is really hard because there's not one of the reasons for starting the podcast is there's not a big community in the stripping world. So this would be an opportunity to do that, but it also makes it hard even online to have that.
Yeah. It's like they're making it difficult for you to have a community anywhere. Like, online or in the pole dancing class I
think even just the pole dancers themselves online that are professional dancers, not strippers, they very always getting shadow banned as well, just for the outfit or the pole, and they're never really showing anything crazy. It's not like over sexualized. It's very clean content, and even then they're still flagging their stuff.
What do you think is behind the stigma for the two of you? Like, what does that mean to you?
Um, I think it's judgment, and it's people's perception of what it means about the person.
Mm-hmm.
So they associate this with certain qualities about women, and it's like they putting us into a box.
Mm-hmm.
And it's harmful. It's very harmful. And but at the same time, we also have to heal that within ourselves because it's everywhere. So we grew up knowing that about that certain industry as well, like from our families, from whatever source. So it's like a public problem. I mean, it's
just kind of ingrained in society. And
yeah.
even though we are trying to change that, it's still, we recognize things in ourselves where we're like, oh, just hiding the fact that we're a dancer because we don't know how to have the conversation. Because sometimes it's not a good conversation, or it makes them be like, oh, like you said, I was trying to get the job. I don't have anything on my Instagram at the time, nothing. There was like a pole dance on the pole. There was clothes on even, and they were like, oh, it's for social media management for architecture firms.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, my name doesn't go on anything. It would be, I'm just writing for them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm essentially just a writer.
Yeah.
And they did not, they're like, oh, what if they somehow see your name somewhere and then they look it up and then they're not going to like it? It's like, how would that have anything to do with my ability to write captions for Instagram? That doesn't even make sense. They're going to be like, oh, we're going to put sex stuff in the caption because I'm a stripper. That's just, it's not.
It feels like there is some irony behind it, just in terms of like, I just have to imagine like an architectural firm, like those guys have never been to a strip club before. Like they've, it's like they've never seen that kind of dancing done in such a risque way. But
also, it's like, I think everyone's seen boobs in their life. So it's like, it's like everyone has had sex. Everyone has seen like another person naked. So, but it has to be a secret. No one can ever know that anyone ever did that.
Yes.
Or that we monetize that.
Yes. Yes. It's very interesting for me to think about this just in terms of the astrological sense, because, Scorpio is the sign of secrets and like the spiritual bonding that happens through the physical act of sex. And Pluto's the planetary ruler of Scorpio, and Pluto's transiting into Aquarius this year, and it will be in Aquarius for the next 20 years. And Aquarius is a sign that squares Scorpio, so there's tension between these two energies. Whereas Scorpio is about the secrets, Aquarius is about being open, like breaking down barriers and breaking down the norms, conventionality. It's like, if it's conventional, then it's being torn down during this Pluto in Aquarius period over the next 20 years. So it feels like conventionality in terms of sex or even nudity or how people perceive sex or engage in sex is going to be broken down and transformed. So, yeah.
I love that.
Good for us.
Yeah, right? Yes.
This is a good sign.
Yes. So, it's fun to look at your two charts and really think about like one of the curiosities for me is like, what would make somebody want to do this work? And I've listened to the first couple episodes of your podcast, and I would encourage anyone listening to this to check out Naked and Ambitious, or go to their website, nakedandambitious.com, and listen to what Karina and Mina are sharing in the first few episodes, when you're sharing about the stigmas that go with stripping. Like one of the couple of the questions that came up, I think it was in your second episode, where you get into the stigmas, where I assume it's guys that are asking you this, because it's probably mostly guys that are there, but you're so smart. Why are you here? You're so pretty. Why are you here? It's like, there must be something wrong with you if you're this smart and this pretty and you're here, you're working here. Is that the stigma?
I mean, I think so. It's such a constant question of confusion.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, well, if you're so pretty, why would you do this job? It's like, well, I mean, that's part of the reason is being intelligent and beautiful. You can do this kind of work. You are like going to excel in this kind of work. So I don't know why you would rule it out when there's so many other shittier jobs. Like maybe not according to everybody, but we have so much freedom and we like that.
Yes.
Like there's no other job that you can have those sort of perks where you are an entrepreneur, really. And then there's also customers always waiting there. It's not like you still have to go find them once you get to the club, but they are always at the club. You aren't going door to door selling this way. You're going to a place where somebody already wants something. It's like a warm sale.
Yes. Yes.
I think they are also projecting by asking those questions because they think if we are so pretty, why there's no man in our life that will help us get out of this industry and just provide other profession or like provide for us, basically.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of projections going on.
For sure. But and that's such an assumption, like that there should be a man taking care of you so that you're not stripping. And it's like, well, I mean, and take these words out of my mouth. I don't want to speak for you, but it's like, do you want a man to be taking care of you? Or does that feel like, you might lose some of your freedom? I mean, maybe if you find...
I think we kind of always bring this up where we're like, obviously it would be nice to have somebody to provide for you. That would be amazing. Like, I think I love being in a partnership and like doing kind of like the homemaker type stuff. I'm very attracted to that. So it's not like I don't enjoy it. So I would love that role, but also I still want to always have my freedom. So unless it's someone you are getting married to and you are so committed to and they get who you are as a person, then you don't want it, because so many guys kind of offer, oh, well, I could provide this, and then you cannot work. It's usually just like a customer saying that, like someone who doesn't know you at all. I'm like, I would never give up my freedom so you could give me money and then you own me. That sounds disturbing.
Exactly.
There's a huge difference between like controlling behavior that they just want us for themselves, and they act like they would provide or give us options, but actually it's not true. They just say that, but they don't do it. But there's another type of man that would just provide us that same freedom just by supporting us in other areas.
So it's like,
so I think it really depends on the person.
Yeah. So it's like, of course, if the right man presents himself, great, but you're not looking to be some guy who comes into the club looking to be his sex toy or fantasy.
No, I think most guys think that they can meet a girl there. And I think most girls there are like, I would never meet a guy here. Absolutely not.
Totally.
Yeah, we're not interested.
Yes. Oh my God. The delusionalness of guys coming in there thinking that that's where you're going to meet your special person. No one's thinking that, right? Like this is a monetary exchange that's going on here. I'm providing a fantasy.
They believe it.
They believe it, yeah.
We provide the fantasy and they truly believe that it's real. Like, but you paid me to give you a fantasy. So now you think it's kind of crazy that you think this is real life because you came here with the money to have me pretend to like you.
Wow. Yes.
Yes. Also at the same time, I think it's a part of our job to maintain this delusion.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's why they come.
Yes.
This is the motivation for them to come, and this is the motivation for them to keep coming back, and maybe it's going to be a real thing one day. If I spend that much money, if I have another dance, if I meet her again. So that's kind of how things work.
Yeah, you're really walking kind of a fine line because you want to sell the fantasy, the dream, but at the same time, you also want to trust that they understand that it's a fantasy. And that when
mostly
they don't though.
Mostly they don't.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But and a lot of girls, I think, will be asking other girls and be like, what do I say when they say this? Like, I don't want to go to dinner with them. I don't want to do this with them. But they think like, how do I maintain this illusion that I enjoy them as a customer and they are valuable to me? And it's not that I don't like them. I like this customer, but I'm not going to be giving myself away outside of the club in my free time to them. So I think it is something that a lot of girls are experiencing all the time, but especially when you're new, you don't really know how to deal with that. Like, how do I make them think that I still like them, even though I don't want any of these propositions happening? I don't want this. Like,
yes, I think having two different identities help us to separate those two worlds so we don't get lost, because this is not, now I'm Karina outside, I'm myself, and I keep those two things separate. And when those two words start to merge, it's might be confusing.
Yes.
And I keep my boundaries really strict with that, because
Wow.
it gets confusing.
Can I show your charts? Because you have this really interesting connection that I want to share with you and the audience, of course. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, because this, like, when you talk about the two identities, you know, it's like I see this in both of your charts, where if we look here, this is Karina. So, Karina, you were born with the sun right here at 13 degrees in Gemini, and Mina was born with the ascendant at 13 degrees in Gemini. So both the sun is the identity and the ascendant is the personality. So Karina's identity is right on top of Mina's personality. Like, Karina is bringing light, life, and vitality to Mina's personality, the essence of her soul. And you know, Mina is bringing that personality to Karina's identity. I mean, the fact that you're both here at 13 degrees, and Gemini is the twins. So when you talk about these two identities, you have your fantasy that you portray to your clients or customers, and then you have the you who exists in your normal life, let's say. So that's why it makes sense.
Interesting.
Yeah, right? Okay, cool. So I was like, wow, like, you can't make this up. 13 and 13, you're really helping each other shine. And I think that's like, you know, part of the success of the podcast is that you're bringing light to key areas of each other's chart. So, you know, on the other side, we've got Mina's sun, which is directly opposite Karina's ascendant. It's not the exact same degree.
Will you like move it so I can see? Yeah.
Like that? You see this? So yeah, it's
or even with your cursor.
What's that?
If you're showing, so like if you like move your little cursor sometimes, because you see the chart and it's so big, and then I can't see where you're looking unless you zoom in.
Do you see the cursor?
I do.
Okay, yeah. So 6 degrees, this is Mina's sun, 6 degrees Virgo, and Karina's ascendant is 9 degrees Pisces, which is just 3 degrees away. But then Karina's moon is 5 degrees Pisces, directly opposite Mina's sun. So there's a direct connection between Mina's identity and Karina's emotional nature. There's compatibility there, but even, you know, some tension. And when you talk about the fantasy, Karina, your ascendant, your personality, and your moon, your emotions are in the sign that represents fantasy, which is Pisces. This is ruled by Neptune, the planet of dreams. Yes. And then Mina's Jupiter is in Karina's first house. So the first house is the house of personality. Jupiter is the planet of expansion. So Mina is expanding Karina's personality and bringing luck to Karina's personality. Yes. So,
I mean, I think this is the most amount of time I've really talked to any one person, I think, about dancing, is just in our conversations together. So all of the little things that you don't always share, like we keep kind of touching on, the community is not that, there's not so much community there. So sometimes it's really hard to, all the things that you would normally share with your friends, you're not always sharing because it's kind of weird. Like, I feel like I actually shared a lot with you, Scott, because we were close. So like meeting all the time and you asking me very personal questions, I feel like I got to share with you some, But with her, like she's in the field, so we are like having discussions back and forth about what to do and how to improve and all those things. So I don't remember where I was going with
No,
it,
but I
but
love
Yeah,
I
we
love where you're going.
analyze
No,
everything.
I love it because like I was gonna ask you like what like I can see this astrologically, and you look at this astrologically, and you're like, wow, okay, I can see the connection between Mina and Karina. Like when you see like right here, here's Mina's moon at 8 degrees in Cancer right here, and then you look at Karina's ascendant at 9 degrees in Pisces. So that's Mina's moon at 8 degrees in Cancer, which is water, and Karina's ascendant, which is 9 degrees Pisces. That's a direct connection between Mina's emotional nature and Karina's personality and identity. So I can, in addition to the Jupiter being here and the Sun connection with the ascendant for both of you, that's obvious. But what I wanted to ask the two of you is what drew you together? Like what was there a moment where you connected and you're like, okay, this is a person for me that's going to be important in my life? Because I can remember that with you and I, Ingrid. I definitely have a clear indication of like there was a moment where I was like, okay, I think this is someone who's going to be an important person in my life. What was that for the two of you?
I think it was at the beginning mutual interests that brought us into conversations, and we started talking about like going to dance classes together. We were talking about probably Instagram actually, because you were checking some of my things. I think you were watching my YouTube.
And she had a YouTube, and I thought that was super cool. So before we even were ending our stuff, I was following her, and we see each other at work and have little conversations, but she seemed very interested in like motivation, mindset, business type stuff, and then also like, capturing it and sharing it, which I thought was super cool because I don't know any other dancers doing that. And that feels like aligned for me. I feel like I'm kind of trying to share stuff. And so it was just very intriguing for me to see another dancer kind of really putting herself out there. And like on Instagram, she's always posting, like always, very consistent and also very professional and sharing some little personal pieces of motivation for women. And I really liked that. And then you said like the dance classes after that.
And then about I also noticed that you're doing a lot more outside dancing. So that automatically it brings me closer to someone because, I mean, we are multifaceted beings. So I want to do a lot more with my life, and you want to do a lot more with your life. It's just, I think that's main connection point.
I love it, because that brings me into just thinking about the title of your show, Naked and Ambitious. And it sounds like the two of you recognize the ambition in each other, or the hardworking sort of qualities that the two of you brought to not only to work but outside of work. You saw that hey, she's actually working on something outside of the club that I'm interested in, that I'd like to work on, and there was like that sort of mutual respect for one another. Yes,
absolutely.
So what?
Your creative work in the film industry, and also the podcast you already had. So
yes,
it was like
perfect match. Ingrid's the best. Like I love the like just your intro for the new show, and the song, and the voiceover, and in the videos you put on Instagram. They're so professional. They're so high quality. So it's such an asset.
I mean, I feel very excited about it. I feel like we had we had kind of like practiced. Me and you, Scott, were like practicing all of these things. So it's like I got to really, and it's like it was our thing together. But obviously, you are an astrologer, so it's more personal to you. So this felt more personal to me. So I was able to kind of really decide things a little more specific to me personally, and that felt really exciting and motivating to create something like this. I feel like this is like the most amount of work I've done for my own self. So that felt exciting. And then, bringing Karina in and like the dance and the club vibe to that, just all of it feels personal. So it was very like a very big growth moment for me.
It's amazing.
Being able to use all the skills that I've been practicing with you for years.
Yes.
To do something else that's more like aligned for me specifically. So I think it's very cool.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't want to sound like a dad here, but I mean, I feel so proud of you. You know, it's like to see like you take the skills that you helped, that you were cultivating with our partnership, and to bring it to something that is so personal to you. It's exciting to see. So what does ambition mean to the two of you? Or ambitious? What does that word mean to the two of you?
I think for me, it was always working towards a goal in my life. So every chapter in my life involved a specific goal or what I wanted to achieve for myself. And it really never ends, to be honest. So it's like an ongoing journey, always working on something. I think this is what makes me feel alive and good about myself, and making a change as well. And have an impact. So no matter what I do, I always need to challenge myself. So that's how I think. Even before, when I worked in the corporate space, it was also very, very challenging, especially at the beginning when you're so young out of the university. But then you realize that you can do so much more. You gain confidence, and you don't want to be stuck in one kind of workplace or one space of mind that you cannot do all those things that you dreamed of. So it's kind of like maybe following your dreams as well. So
I love it.
I mean, I think all of that, I think that's like the best description for what ambition really means is, just having future oriented goals and accomplishing them, making plans, accomplishing them. And then, like you said, it doesn't end. The whole ambition is something that is kind of like a lifelong thing that you are carrying with you and always trying to improve and learn and grow.
Amazing.
Especially like self-oriented, like obviously includes so many things like business. I mean, we've talked about this so many times, Scott, like when we say, maybe I don't remember the sign at the moment.
Capricorn.
Yes, like work-oriented, but also like we are working at all these personal goals too. It doesn't matter if you're a stay-at-home mom, you can still have ambition in life to do things for your kids or build community or provide for your family. There is so much more to ambition than just the business aspect of it, which clearly dancing is mostly like the entrepreneur type energy. But there is so much more to ambition. And just, outside of the club, you don't need to improve your skills for the club. It's not necessary to be good at every single part of the job, but improving those skills is one aspect of it, and connecting with people, and then also feeding yourself and, taking trips to like connect with people and making a podcast. Like all these pieces are what, keeps you motivated and
amazing.
Yeah, I think it's also something about high energy. So like being in your best energy, then you like your most best self, and you are the most ambitious because then you're motivated, as you said. So.
Yes. So you have to take care of your body. You have to get good rest. You have to feed yourself the right way so that you have the energy to do the work that you need to do to achieve the ambitions that you want to accomplish.
This, yes. I mean, especially in dancing, I think people don't realize how much of like the self-care is so important. It's like if you were to have, guests for the weekend at your house where you're like kind of on and you're hosting and the whole thing, you're like, oh, I want to really be rested. I want to be well fed. I want to be my nervous system I don't want to be panicked and stressed out right before they come because I'm not going to really get to enjoy my time. And I kind of feel like the same thing about dancing. Maybe you're not hosting someone at your house, but you are kind of you're there with a bunch of other girls, but you're all kind of hosting the party. Yeah. So you really have to get in that energy and give a lot to yourself, or you're not going to have anything to give other people.
Right. So
when you love yourself, then you can pour into other people's cups the most.
Yes,
so.
Absolutely. So it is about that self-love. That's part of the ambition, is when you have goals, you have to love yourself in order to achieve those goals, because it's hard work to do. And if you don't love yourself, then you're not going to want to do the work, right?
A million %.
Yeah.
Yes. And you have to believe in yourself. which is hard.
Yeah, which is also really scary. It makes you feel like the naked part, I guess, is physically obviously for stripping, but also like naked in like sharing our full selves.
Yes.
I feel like, stripping everything down and being just like a human being over everything is like how you have success, is your personality and who you are.
Yes, absolutely. It's like there's an interesting dichotomy there, it seems like, because on one hand, like on the podcast, you're naked in terms of what you're sharing about yourselves and your experiences and working in the club. But in the club, you're naked physically, but you're clothed in terms of what you're really sharing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally.
That's actually really crazy. Oh, it's pouring out. We're in the dark in this little room and it's raining so hard you can hear it.
You're in a tropical place. So what is that like to take off your clothes in front of complete strangers?
I'm so curious to hear the...
I'm trying to think how I felt when I did it first time.
Yeah.
It's definitely very new, foreign, different feeling when you do it for the first time. It's I would say it's very liberating, because once you do it, you realize everyone is like hypnotized.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my gosh, I never even looked at myself like this. And then you kind of embracing every part of your body, because every part of your body is exposed.
Yes.
So there's no way you cannot be insecure. Like there's no place for insecurities. Like you have to embrace yourself. It shows.
Wow.
So for me, it took like 2 weeks of adjusting to this new environment. It's like very new thing for the brain, but like it was very empowering and liberating, because you can see how
you get the direct response. Like you can see people's response to you immediately.
It's like they are hypnotized by our bodies.
Yes.
And they are ready to like just give us their wallets and like just can never end. Like
oh, that's hilarious. I love it. Hypnotize. That is like such a great word. I can just think of, they're in shock, right? So.
Yeah.
Yes. Wow.
I mean, I feel like I don't know if I even had such like a thoughtful moments when I started. I felt like it felt kind of over. Like I was much more nervous before I started. They told me I didn't have to go on stage. Otherwise, I don't think I would have like even started. I was just like really nervous about that part of it. And on my first day, like I knew a girl was like, oh yeah, like, are you going to go on stage? And I think I said, no, they said I don't have to. And she was like, oh, you have to. You have to go on stage. You're not going to make any money. That's like your advertisement. And I was like, really? And she was like, I'll go up there with you. If you get scared, you just like wink at me and I'll come with you so you're not nervous, which was so, so nice of her. And then, I feel like I say the same thing. Like, I don't want to be rude to the guys that are in there paying us or like put them down, but the people that are coming in there, they're going to love whatever they see on stage. Like, these are not people that I necessarily like respect and look up to, like all of these people that are nobody to me. Like, I don't know them from anywhere.
Yeah.
And they're coming there to feel special. Like, I'm not really concerned how much they think about who I am. So it's like, you can kind of like drop the thing. We're like, oh, I'm so embarrassed. I'm like, embarrassed in front of who? Like, I feel much more nervous. We had this showcase up here. We did the pole dancing. Then got convinced to dance for all of the girls. And then they invited all these people. And it's not the club. It was at like a dinner restaurant, like a private area. But I was so, one of the most nervous I've ever been was dancing there for women. And everyone's like, oh, don't be nervous. It's just a bunch of girls. I'm like, oh my, I never experienced that with being at the club ever. Not to that level in any degree. So I feel like, because I also respect these women, because not just because they're women, but because they're really good dancers and I love what they do. And so that to me is much more intimidating to some guys that don't know shit about dancing. They're going to think anything you do is pretty. Like,
well, I think
they don't know what's going on. They're just,
I think that's, for men, I mean, I'll just speak for myself. I don't think I've ever seen a naked woman where I wasn't not hypnotized, or, I
Right?
mean, because it's different. If I see a naked man, I'm not going to care, because I'm
Yeah.
naked in front of myself every day, and so, like, maybe where I can understand with you being nervous with the women, because women don't usually fall into that hypnotic trap of like, oh my God, she's so beautiful. They're going to be more judgmental.
Much more critical.
Yes,
Mhm. So
exactly.
I always tell girls when they give me a compliment, I'm like, oh my God, I feel so much better getting the compliment from one of the women than it does the guys. It does.
Yeah, it reminds me of when I used to work in publicity, and I'd be working with like a famous movie star woman, and I'd be like, "Well," she's like, "How do I look?" And I'm like, "You look beautiful. You look stunning." She's like, "Oh, I can't ask you. You're a guy. You're not
It's,
gonna. Of course, you
you
think
won't be
I'm
like, oh, your like
beautiful."
eyelashes are like the mascara over here. You're like, I didn't even notice you had eyelashes. What's happening?
Totally, totally, yes. So what are your ambitions? What are your greatest ambitions? What do you hope to achieve for the podcast? What are your goals?
Mean, for me, I guess just specifically creating a community for dancers to really actually connect and have these conversations like thoughtfully, and whether it's asking themselves or like through our podcast, you were like, "Oh, you're meant to be in the community." And I was like, "What the fuck does that mean?" I mean, I think I asked you so many times, Scott, like, "Why do you keep saying that to me? What are you saying?" But it did create such a community because after I stopped doing it with you, I was like, "Oh, like there's, people on Instagram and like some people I really miss because they would write me every week and it's all through online, but
Mm-hmm.
it is such a community of people can reaching out and being like, "Oh my gosh, me too about the story," or "Thank you for sharing. I have such a different experience." Like that is so great to be able to connect with people on such a human level, even people that you would never normally meet.
Yes.
So seems like it would be such a good space because it's so lacking in that world. So I just, number one, community. And then also maybe at some point, like, or maybe it is just part of the podcast, like just educating baby dancers or aspiring dancers.
Mm.
Because there's almost any other career. You can just like research, Google classes. And I mean, there is a few out there, but it's very slim. There's maybe 5 girls that I've ever seen really doing any sort of education for what works in the dancing world. Because in the community, like in the specific community at work, sometimes here and there are really supportive girls who are willing to share, but it's few and far between. Even just the girl the first day being like, "Oh, I'll dance on stage with you," or one girl. I just feel like there was girls here and there that would give little bits and pieces, but it's not like serving. You have a whole week. You sit with somebody every single day. You're following them. You're hearing what they're saying, what the customers are asking, how they respond, how they deal with problems.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have that at the club. You have my training was I got a lap dance. The whole training.
Mm.
But like there's so much nuance to what to say to people when they say terrible stuff to you or nice stuff to you, and how to um guide the conversation where you want it to go, and how to be complimentary to them even if you don't like them at all, even if you hate this person. It's like, but you still want to make money for the day. Like how do you deal with all these different personalities? And I feel like it's just like problem solving. The whole job is problem solving. Like, how are you supposed to make money at this? Because so many girls are just like not selling.
Right.
And it sucks because they don't really have, the managers aren't there to help you sell. That's not their job. Their job is to just make sure the customers kind of are okay.
Mm.
It's not so much like the workers having any resource for
Mhm.
how to make money at all. That's not, it is just nowhere.
Yes, that's very true. And I think we also strive to make an impact in the industry and help to destigmatize the industry, help to show people,
We're whole people. We're like whole.
yeah, show people like that we are normal human
Yes.
beings, and there are so many dancers that are just like any other person. Nothing actually, it doesn't mean anything about them, the fact that they dance, and that's what we stand for. So
just seeing like all the aspects, like everyone likes what kind of food they eat, what kind of friends they have, what their family dynamic is. Like there's so many parts, and I feel like most people just gloss over everything else, all the personal aspects of family and friends and community and all the stuff that's necessary for a happy and whole life. And they're just like, "Oh, the only thing you do is some sort of sex work, and I don't care." Like all you have is like an ass, you don't have any brain. It's just like I try to, it used to be really mean at first to all the guys. I was just like, because you could say whatever you want there.
Mhm.
No one's going to tell you to not say that to the customer, really.
Yeah.
But now I try to be much more kind and understanding that people do not know, and they're not sometimes, but not always trying to be so rude, to just be like, that's not how it works. You can't do that to people. Like, I'm also a person,
Like,
in a
what's an
way
example
that's
of that?
makes sense. I mean, just in saying no to like what they can touch or what they can do, they like are just expecting more and letting them down without making them feel guilty, but also having a strong boundary to be like, hey, just so you know, like I'll just say it kind of like this, like just so you know, maybe some other girls do that, but not all the girls do that. So you have to ask. Like you can't just be, it's really upsetting if you are touching someone and they didn't ask for it. So like do whatever you want with whoever you have like established that relationship with, but that's not me and I'm a stranger. So like make sure you're also asking other girls. You can't just expect everyone to be doing whatever you want without even asking first. It's really very uncomfortable and crazy to expect some stranger, basically stranger on the street, to just do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Like you're not even spending that much money really. Like you can make good money, but it's from having so many interactions with people. So like it's not like you're like thousands of dollars. I get whatever I want. It's a single dance that you're giving is not very much money.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think those boundaries also are very necessary for women to implement in their private lives. Also, know their worth.
Yes.
So we want to help women in the industry to know their worth, whether it's at work or outside work. So because the same thing is happening outside the strip clubs, like women just settle, they are mistreated, they give their energy for free for nothing in return. And yeah, so it's really like women empowerment that we also want. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love that, it sounds like the two of you really want to empower your community of exotic dancers, both in the club and outside of the club. And, I couldn't be happier to hear that, just in terms of what that means for both of you astrologically, because when you look at your charts, though, so for Mina, we know, we've talked about this a lot. Your North Node, your soul's purpose in the 11th house, which is the house of friendship, which represents the group, the club, the organization, the social network, the social cause, the community. That's what the house of friendship is about, because it's associated with the 11th sign, which is Aquarius, and Aquarius is symbolized by the water bear. And the water bear is that individual that invented the jug, not for themselves, but for the village. So that's for you, Mina, but also Karina, your North Node, your soul's purpose is also in the 11th house. So both of you are here to really empower the group, the club, the organization, the social network, the social cause. You're here to really take responsibility for what my role is in the community. What is unique about what I'm bringing to the community that can offer something and empower and progress the community or society into reality that is where we can all feel more independent, accepted for our individuality, where, she works at the club. That's great. That doesn't mean she's like every person that works at the club. Every person that works at the club is a different person. Some are a mom. Some have a professional job that nobody knows that they work there at night because they want to make extra money. Everybody's got their own unique story. So both of you are here to see the specialness that exists within each individual that you come into contact with, where you really recognize that what they're bringing to the group is different than what everyone else is bringing to the club. And so each individual brings their own their own unique frequency, their own unique energy to the club that has value.
They really do.
Yes.
They really do. Like there's such a wide spectrum of girls. Like the one girl is just like the cheerleader, always gassing you up, and like one girl's always inviting people to go to, the bar and friends, and there's so many different types of women there. Or it's just, as you're there longer and longer, you start becoming closer, and you're talking with the girl who is like mom of 4 and how her day is and how she structures things. And I think you were mentioning earlier how you don't to having the two different personalities, having the boundary between the two, because everyone thinks of dancers as like this one singular personality type, but really that's the illusion that we create. We are all trying to feed into that stereotype of like what people think a dancer is, because you're creating this fantasy, but that doesn't really mean that's her personality. That's just what everyone's seeing when they go to the club.
Yep, exactly. That's the fantasy. That's the other personality there. Are you going to invite other dancers onto your show to talk about themselves at all? Is that something you're going to be doing?
Yeah, we would like to do that. I think we're going to, put out, I'm not sure how many episodes first. And then once we get like really settled in the groove, then just inviting other people to interview and ask questions to, and kind of compare like how our existence there is similar or different. And because I'm sure there's so many people's stories in any field of work, just seeing like what everyone's backstory is and how they deal with problems. And I think that the more people that we can talk to, the more the community will be positively affected.
I think that's where you're really going to shine and thrive and I think that because of both of your north nodes up here in the 11th. I didn't
know that both of our north nodes were in the 11th house. That's so cool.
Exactly.
The north node to me is one of my favorite things to know about people. I feel like since I was always just, whenever we were doing the podcast, I was much more in tune with everything. And then, I think I might have looked up your chart, but the north node is always like my favorite thing to learn about somebody, because it's your soul's purpose. Yes. Like what could be more interesting about a person than like what they're meant for.
So both of your south nodes are in the 5th house, which is associated with the 5th sign, which is Leo. So like in your past lives, both of you were the queen. And in this life, you're meant to be a part of the community. And so, it's interesting too, when you look at Karina's chart, her north node is conjunct Neptune, which is the fantasy. And it's in Capricorn, which is the most ambitious sign. So Karina is literally here. And then both of these are aligning with Pluto in the 8th house, which is like sex. The 8th house is sex, and Pluto is sex. It's the planet of death in the house of death. And that's why sex is associated with the 8th house, because it's through sex that we are transformed. You have sex with somebody, you can bring new life. Even if you don't have a child, just having an orgasm is like a transformation of your energy through the interaction that you're having with the other person. So that sex energy with fantasy, with ambition, with community. And then Uranus is up here in the 11th house, which is individuality and independence, dependence to authority, and having a very unique, eclectic group of friends. So, and then
unique, or wait, what was the thing right before that? The thing about authority,
independence from the authority. Yes.
I feel like that is very key.
Yes. And then for you, Mina, that's aligning with your midheaven, which is that Capricorn 10th house energy, which is ambition. So, but you're meant to be the warrior but the warrior of beauty and relationship, with Venus directly opposite. So you're the warrior of beauty and grace and ambition, but also healing the wound to consciousness and self-confidence. That's what your soul's purpose is about. Yes. It's interesting that both of you were born with Venus in the 5th house. here's Mina, Venus, 22 degrees Libra, right here in the 5th house. And then Karina is Venus, 28 degrees Cancer in the 5th house. And I think that like lends to having the confidence to go up on the stage, where, you know, the 5th house is that center of attention, where with Venus there, like when it comes to relationships in the senses, you want to have that sort of grandiose expression where you're appreciated in a way that feels like you're the queen, like you're being elevated in some way. And so that is the 5th house. Also, Karina was born with Mars and Jupiter in Leo, which is more of that center stage sort of frequency. But again, what you need to do is take that ability to attract attention to you, like you're on stage at the club, but really bring it to the group, to the club, where you're shining your light on the other girls. That's going to help elevate them. And the more that you're shining your light on them, the more they're going to shine their light on you. And the more that you're going to feel like the queen that you've always wanted to be. Yes.
Sounds amazing, inspiring, and powerful.
Good. That's my objective, you know, in bringing the two of you on here. I wanted to hear about the show. I wanted to reconnect with you, Ingrid. Or Mina, and I wanted to meet you, Karina. But, you know, I want to empower both of you in what you're doing, especially, you know, with all the stigmas and everything out there. Like we can't be, it's just so interesting when you think about sex work is like the oldest profession, but yet there's so much shame around it. And it's so strange because how could something be such a thriving business when, when there's so much shame around it? It's just, so I just want to empower the two of you in what you're doing, and especially with the podcast and helping break down those stigmas and really elevating the people that you connect to, empowering them.
I mean, I think it's like you were like the perfect podcast partner, or the perfect just business partner in any sense, because you never had any judgment about it. You were always so like warm and welcoming and curious, especially as a man. Because I feel like there's always such a separation in energy when it's like, because I've told her, I'm like, I have so many male friendships that I really value and I feel close to them. And it's not weird because people are always like, oh, this must be weird. And I'm like, I feel so lucky to add you to one of these people where I'm just like, I always feel supported and safe. And I don't think a lot of women have that. And I think that maybe that is part of, you know, the reason that people feel like closed off from sharing certain things, because they don't have safe places to be able to share with that masculine energy. Someone that feels like supportive and like protector vibes.
Yes. I feel like there's a lot of fear and around like the nightlife industry, the strip club, because of the stigmas that exist there. If we just shine the light there and show that these are actually real women that have souls and hearts, and they want to love and be loved, you know, and we're operating from that frequency, it's going to elevate the whole environment instead of trying to shove it down into the corner like it doesn't exist.
I mean, I feel like there are like, you know, obviously not all the customers, but, you know, there are a select portion of the customers, maybe like, I don't know, 20% or so, that are just so lovely and you feel so appreciated, and it doesn't feel like so much work. Like it is a lot of work, but then when you get the people who really kind of see you as a human being and want to like dote on you and pay for your time and make you feel like, when someone says thank you, like I try to always say thank you to the customer because they're paying to spend time with me. But then when the other person's like, no, actually, thank you so much. Like, you know, I've been going through a divorce. I've been like, you know, my mom died. Like they start sharing so much personal stuff where they're like, oh, I feel so lonely. And you were so kind to like give me a warm space to feel loved for, you know, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is. They feel like they have a safe, comfortable space. And, I feel like there are these really human moments of connection where a lot of the people just really don't have anyone to make them feel held and safe. And I think that being able to provide that for people that really value our time and our boundaries and everything is actually like very beautiful and very healing.
That's something that,
Yes,
go ahead, Karina, go ahead, jump in.
I 100% agree. There are times that I feel like we're doing something very good to the world.
Yes.
By giving those people some closeness.
Mhm.
And also, I think, as you mentioned before, like we carry those like heavy energies for them sometimes, and they feel relieved.
Yes.
They don't share.
Especially men just don't share as
They
much
don't
in
share
general.
with anyone else what is actually bothering them or what they're going through, or some insanely intimate
Something like
details,
embarrassing.
yes, about their life. So I'm proud of our
That's
work.
so amazing.
Because that's very
It's so amazing. Like, you just gave me an idea where it's like you're literally naked in front of these men, and so it makes them feel safe to be vulnerable with you.
I mean, I think that, I never have really put that together, but truly, I think that that must be part of it. We
Yes.
are vulnerable, so they are able to also be vulnerable in the way that men can be vulnerable,
Exactly.
that they don't normally share.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
They're naked too, emotionally naked
Mhm.
in front of your naked bodies, because you've literally undressed all of that. The barriers, the energetic barriers that they put up are brought down when you take off your clothes and they're hypnotized by you. They're like, yeah, my mom died and I'm going through a divorce and I haven't talked to anyone about this. And, and like, for the two of you, I can really see how men would open up to you, because your moons are both in these sensitive signs. Like, Karina, your moon, the planet of emotions, is in the most compassionate sign. Like, you are emotionally fulfilled by being compassionate and empathetic to others. Like, when you feel the pain and suffering of others, you take that on as your own. And as a Pisces moon, especially a 12th house Pisces moon, because the 12th house is associated with the 12th sign, which is Pisces. So it's like a double Pisces moon, where you feel the pain and suffering of those around you. And in order to ease your own emotional nature, you are compassionate and empathetic to them. And for Mina, the moon is in Cancer, which is the sign that it rules. The most sensitive, nurturing, caring.
baby.
Yeah, exactly. You're the mama, you're so
Oh my
kind
gosh.
and caring to these men.
I mean, one person in particular, it just somehow this like came to me, but his pet had just died. And he was telling me all about it. And I guess he hadn't talked to anyone because he was embarrassed, because nobody really, maybe someone's pet dies, people aren't continuously asking about it like they would be like a person. And I ended up crying. He was telling me, he was showing me pictures, and it was like just the most, human moment. He felt like safe and comfortable enough, because I seemed vulnerable as well. And he was able to like, really feel like somebody gave a shit, which is just really nice to have somebody to share with.
Yes.
Even if you're paying them.
Yes.
I mean, we have therapists. People hire. I mean, you, Scott. I feel like you're holding so much stuff. People pay you to hold them through these difficult moments.
For sure, absolutely. It's all the Scorpio energy. It's all the sex energy, because people are sharing intimacies with me. They're sharing things with me that they'll never tell anyone else, or maybe they've told a couple other people, but they're opening up in a very intimate way. And Scorpio is the sign of secrets and sex and the sharing of money. And so that's all happening in the club. It's a very transformative place. There's secrets that are being shared. There's sexual energy that's being shared. There's money that's being exchanged. All of that's happening. And, and some, the stigma would not say this, but I'll say, like, there's healing happening there for men that go there and are able to open up and be vulnerable with the right person. And you're helping them shift the energy within themselves.
I wanted to share two little things about Karina, but I don't know if you'd be able to cut it out if she doesn't want it in there.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just how like compassionate she is towards men. Like one of the things she was saying, like an ex, she wrote like, this really beautiful note, even though I don't think the relationship was ideal, just felt like really special, really thoughtful, sharing her appreciation for this person upon the exit, which was just so kind. Like you didn't really have to do that, but it was important to her to make them feel appreciated, even though it was going its separate ways. And then another thing was this guy that it did not work out with as well. There was a strange encounter before anything really sexual happened. It was just a very big mismatch. And she could have easily embarrassed him, or it was just so strange. And the way she talked about it, she was just so kind, even though it was just kind of like a funny, blundering thing. I think some girls would just be talking so much shit and like maybe humiliating in some way, but she just felt so sweet. And it kind of reminded me of like one of the guys that comes to the club. Like they are able to kind of learn how to not blunder things into oblivion to just squish anything good that could have come out of it. I don't know if that's something you even want to share, but
No, that's okay.
Yeah?
That's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, it's in your chart, Karina, as with the Pisces rising, when you're around people you don't know, in situations where you're uncomfortable, places where you're unfamiliar, if you ever feel threatened, you are compassionate. You are empathetic. You are intuitive. And that also satisfies your emotions. Whereas Mina is conversational and communicative and wanting to connect. And so, that's another aspect of working in the club for both of you, is just that Gemini frequency, which is, the stimulation of a lot of different happenings going on at once. It's like all the different naked women, all the different customers that are coming in. It's never boring if it's busy, and so it's interesting. It's fun in that way. And then, yeah, and just looking at your, yeah.
Makes so much sense. The reading.
Yes.
It's overwhelming.
It's a lot, right? Yeah. So, yes. Well, did you have any? Yeah.
Okay, I think we might have some questions.
Sure.
For you
now.
I mean, first question, what are the special qualities about us, business-wise and dancing-wise, that brought us together, or like they're complementary?
Yes. Okay.
Based on our charts.
Yes. So business-wise, I look at right here in the second house, so we're looking at Mina's chart on the inside and Karina's planets on the outside. And so Karina's Venus, which is Lady Luck, the goddess of love and beauty, the planetary ruler of the second house, which is the house of security, which represents money and financial security, it's in Mina's second house. So Lady Luck, the planetary ruler of this house, is here. So that brings some good luck to money, potentially, or material or financial security. There's also Jupiter, the planet of luck, which is conjunct near the same degree as Mina's part of fortune. This is where Mina is most fortunate, is living from her heart center, and in terms of joy and fun and communication and connecting. And Karina expands that luck. So that's another really auspicious aspect in terms of work. Then there's Karina's moon is in Mina's 10th house, which is the house of achievement. That's the house that represents goals, ambition, career. And so, like, Karina has an emotional connection to Mina's ambitions, or the success of her ambitions. She's emotionally tied to that success. So there's also like the two of you, there's some sort of karmic connection here, like maybe past life connection. Maybe you were business partners in a past life. That would be my guess, because when Mina was born, Pluto was in Scorpio in the 6th house. That's the house of work, the house of your job, and it's in the sign of sex. So that would also make sense why Mina is working in a strip club. But then you look at Karina's moon at 5 degrees in Pisces, that connects to Mina's Pluto. So there is a very powerful karmic connection, a transformation of emotions. This is why you're, drawn together, is because of this, to do this work. So this being in the 6th house, Pluto in the 6th house, which is your job, and then the moon in the 10th house, which is career. So there's a connection there. And
That's so interesting.
I love it. I feel like we have to watch the whole thing all over again.
I know. And learn and study.
so, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then maybe next
Go for it.
question, how should we support each other moving forward the best we can?
Yeah, I think the best way to support one another is for Mina, she needs to be very authentic with Karina. She has to be naked and ambitious in front of Karina. Like, this is the real deal, and not just taking the clothes off, but also sharing what she really wants. She has to be very clear about what she wants. The more clear Mina is about what she wants to Karina, the more you're going to achieve your goals and ambitions. I mean, look at this, Ingrid, 21 degrees in Aries. Here's Karina's midheaven at 22 degrees in Sagittarius. So that means, Karina, the top of the mountain for you is being totally and utterly free, spiritually open, free, able to travel, to live a life of exploration and adventure. And the more that Mina is living that authentic life in Karina's presence, the more that she's going to help Karina achieve her goals and ambitions. Now, on the other side, the way that Karina can help Mina, let's see, I think that is...
The rhyming is so crazy. Now I'm like, why did I pick this name of all the names?
It's a tongue twister, I'll tell you that much. I'm like, Mina and
she's
Karina.
She's had this name forever.
Mina and Karina. So, there's some deep healing that is happening here in this relationship. And I think that there may be some challenges here, but the challenges can lead to deep healing. The challenges are Karina's Chiron is squaring Mina's Venus, and Karina's Saturn is squaring Mina's Pluto. So that means that Karina is all at once restricting Mina's philosophical view. It's maybe containing it. And so Mina may feel restricted by Karina's ideas, but the more that you work at flushing them out, the more solid they will be. And then there's something...
So me being able to be honest about the differences?
I would say that the more that you're honest about what it is you really want, even if it's in contrast to what Karina wants. If you're trying to just say, yeah, we can go along with that, but you don't really mean it, then you're going to feel really restricted by whatever it is you agreed upon, because it's not in your
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
Okay.
In every friendship, I think that's very important.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and there's a lot of lessons here around relationship for you, Mina, with Chiron squaring with Karina's Chiron squaring your Venus. It's like she's bringing up insecurities to your self-worth, your values, that are rooted in your upbringing. your childhood. And it's not that she's not bringing these up to try to shame you or out you in some way, but it's just through the relationship that these come up. And so the way that you work through these insecurities or the wounding that has occurred to being in relationship with others is by having the courage to be direct about what it is you really want. Does that make sense?
I mean, it's interesting because we talked a lot about childhood recently.
Yeah, we did. I was just thinking this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she always provides like I feel like she's always very honest. I mean, I don't know what is in the chart, but I feel like I'm always able to share with her, even if it's not in alignment. Like, I feel like whether it's even just through like the little podcast stuff, through branding and words and stuff, I think she's very accommodating, but also she's easily very honest and specific about what she thinks, which encourages me to also be the same, where I feel like even if it's conflicting, I know that we're not going to have a fight about it. We can just still be communicative. Because even like in our relationship, Scott, at the end, we started kind of analyzing what was happening and not working. And it came out that there was so many things, and I don't even remember exactly at this moment what they were, that we had kind of like thought about the other person, and there was a misalignment of some kind that we never expressed.
Yes.
Through all of the talking that we did, that we both kind of kept some stuff back.
Yes.
And it was so strange to be like, well, I thought that, like, you never told me that. I didn't know. Like, I would have done things differently if I would have known more. How was I supposed to react if there was nothing to react to? So knowing that the more that we are authentic, the people in our lives can actually help us more. Like, they can't help or like accept us or, you know, move through the conversation in an open-hearted way if we don't even give them the opportunity to.
Exactly.
So it's...
Well, I think part of the key there is, you know, remembering that your Chiron is in Gemini. So you have, and it's aligning to your North Node, your soul's purpose. So part of your soul's purpose is to have the courage to ask questions that maybe you don't want to ask, or maybe you're afraid to ask, or maybe you're not thinking of the questions because you're afraid to even think of what those questions might be. Like, you really need to ask questions. And it's so interesting to me that I'm a Pisces moon and Karina's a Pisces moon. And so, yes, Karina's, if we get into the human design, Karina's a projector. I'm a projector. There's not, projectors are one of the minorities of the human design. So, projectors are people that they, think about it like film, Ingrid. It's like you put a film into a projector and the projector just shows what the film is. And so that's what Karina and I are. We're projectors. We're like this empty vessel that people come and they put their film in through us, and we're able to show them a version of their lives that they can only see through us. But at the same time, we're also still people, that have desires and interests and that sort of stuff. But it's not as easy for us to sort of articulate what that is unless the people that we are working with are allowing us to communicate that by them putting their film through our projector. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does.
Okay.
I love this.
Yes. So, I mean, I love Karina, you really could be a guide to other dancers, other strippers, to help mentor them in some way. That's what projectors are here to do. And Mina, you're here to be that engine that drives the ship. You're a generator. So what is that thing that truly motivates you, that gets your engine rolling, where it's like, I'm not tired, I can keep going? Like, whatever that is for you, that's what you need to be doing. What is inspiring you? What is encouraging you? And that's where the authenticity is so important for you, because if you're not being authentic, then your engine's not going to be moving, and it's going to be hard for you to be motivated. But if you are really authentic about what it is you want, then it's like, oh man, I didn't sleep last night because I'm just so excited about what I'm working on. I guess I should sleep now. So that's what you're bringing to the partnership. You're bringing that energy, that motivation, but it's only going to be fueled by your authenticity. And through that, Karina can be the one who is helping guide and helping to be that sort of that voice of wisdom, with the Pisces carrying the weight of all the 11 signs. Like, she knows the pain and suffering of everyone because of Pisces. It carries the weight of the 11 previous signs. So she has the capacity to hold and to really be empathetic to whatever others are going through.
And I think the last question,
Yes.
that may be a little unrelated, but it's about our romantic relationships.
Yes.
Any advice?
Yes, of course, of course. So,
Like someone who would maybe be a good match for someone who is a dancer.
yes, absolutely.
Like
Yes.
what
Well,
kind of
and let's just always, revert it back to the astrology. So, when you look at like relationships, the planet of relationships is Venus, the goddess of love and beauty, the planet of relationships. So, Mina, yours is in Libra in the 5th house. Karina, yours is in Cancer in the 5th house. So what Karina is looking for, and Mina, you're both looking for a romantic partner that's going to celebrate you, that's going to treat you like the queen. So whether you're a dancer or whatever it is you're doing, they are going to honor and respect you like the queen. And the queen gets to do whatever she wants to do, right? So, if you want to dance, then I celebrate you dancing. Because that's how you both are going to treat your romantic partners. You're going to treat them as the king or queen. You're going to treat them as somebody who they're amazing as they are, and you want to celebrate them just like you want to be celebrated by them. Now, the nuance for the two of you is, Karina, your Venus is in Cancer, but like this also shows up in Mina's chart as well as the moon in Cancer. So both of you desire nurturing, kindness, caring. You want a partner that's kind, caring, nurturing, that's going to take care of you when you're sick or you're not feeling well emotionally or physically, just as you would do that for them. For Karina, communication is a major theme here, where Mercury at 29 degrees in Taurus is aligning with your Venus at 28 degrees in Cancer. So like, you want open communication. You want that clarity in terms of being able to express what you value, what's important to you, what it means to be valued in terms of your self-worth. And so that is a main key. There's also, this is, funny too, because when I think of the two of you in relationship with each other in your partnership, the 7th house, the house of marriage, for Karina, yours is in Virgo, and that's where Mina's sun is. So you're naturally attracted to people that are very analytical, productively critical, that are very, they're workers. They're not afraid of doing the work, waking up each day and getting it done. You want a partner that's going to be organized, that, has their life together. You think of Mars is the planet of attraction, the planet that rules the physical act of sex. It's in the 6th house for you, Karina, in Leo. Again, you are attracted to somebody who's really going to show their heart to you, that's going to have fun, that's going to enjoy life, but is also going to be discerning about how to move forward in any direction. They're also going to need to take responsibility for their actions, with Saturn opposing your Mars. With the sun in Gemini in the 3rd house, the 3rd house is associated with the 3rd sign, which is Gemini. You also want to be in a relationship that's not boring, that's, interesting, that there's going to be some spontaneity to the relationship, where they might surprise you sometimes, and it's fun. It's good. Because doing the same thing each and every day is going to get boring, and that's not going to last. For Mina, The sun is in Virgo in the 6th house, in the 4th house. So again, it's about organization. It's about somebody who is very analytical or who's got their life together, who is also somebody who is very compassionate or nurturing or kind and caring, who cares about family, who cares about your family. That's important. And then your Mars is in the 8th house in Capricorn. You're attracted to people that are ambitious, people that are going somewhere in life, people that have goals that they want to achieve, and they're willing to help you and work with you to achieve their goals with you or your goals with them, that there is that support there. So those,
like Karina,
exactly.
It's like intimate relationship in that way, where it's like the ambition is very attractive and you want to like help them achieve those things. It's like a passion of mine to be able to help people, get to the next level.
That's it.
And to like be there and experience the whole thing together. It's super cool.
Absolutely.
And rewarding.
Yes. I mean, that's Mars.
Even in our relationship, like the same type of
Totally.
energy.
Yeah. You saw my ambition. You're like, okay, yeah, this guy has a plan. He's going somewhere, he's hardworking. You always knew I was going to show up every time. And so, this last bit for you, Mina, is, we've talked about this a lot, but you look at your 7th house, the house of marriage is in Sagittarius. That's freedom. So when it comes to all relationships, you need total and utter freedom. Here's Uranus, the planet of independence.
That's you, that's her.
What's that?
Wait, is that
That's
me?
you. That's
Okay,
you.
okay.
Yeah. You want total freedom. Ingrid, total freedom in relationship. You want with Uranus in the 7th house, you want independence in that relationship. And you know what? There's going to be something that's unconventional about the relationship. People might see you with whoever you're with and go like, I don't get it. Great. You don't have to. I do. So
I feel like the last 2 guys I was with, it was that.
Yes,
both of those.
That's how it's going to be. You just have to embrace that unconventionality of relationship, as long as it's bringing you independence. And then Neptune's here, so there's going to be an era of fantasy, illusion, deception, that's going to urge you to continue to reimagine the dream of what relationships mean to you, so that you can obtain more freedom, more independence, and be more open and expressive with accepting your unconventionality when it comes to relationships.
It's also insightful.
So
it's very reflecting on just all the aspects.
Yes, it's fun, right?
It is really fun. I feel like we could talk for hours. I'm
like, is this a Joe Rogan podcast? Are we going to go for 3 hours here?
I told her like before we started, I was like, just so you know, Scott can talk. He can really talk. And like you go so deep, and there's always like another layer and another layer.
Oh my gosh. I'm loving it.
Yes, exactly. Well, I think we've done a great job. So, I'm trying to think if I have any other questions that I missed for the two of you. I think I got through everything that I wanted to talk about, pretty much. We covered at least. Yeah. So, yes. I just want to thank you both so much for your openness, for coming on the podcast, for sharing everything that you shared with me and with our listeners here. I am honored to have you here. I'm honored to share the knowledge with you. And yes, I hope you both feel empowered by the time we've spent here together. And I wish you all the best with Naked and Ambitious. I want to encourage all of the listeners here to check out Mina and Karina on Naked and Ambitious, nakedandambitious.com. It's on all the podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and you can follow them on Instagram. What are your Instagram handles? Tell us what they are.
Cave Baby, like a cave woman, but a baby. Cave Baby Talks.
Cave Baby Talks.
Mm-hmm.
And Single Lady Hustle.
Single Lady
Karina.
Hustle. Karina? Single.
Yes, it's under Karina.
Yeah. Single Lady Hustle.
The handle.
Single Lady
Single Lady
Hustle and
Hustle.
Cave Baby Talks. Yes. So give them a follow on Instagram. Check out their podcast. It's such a pleasure having you both here. Thank you again. And I'll look forward to talking to you both in the future.
Thank you so much for having us, Scott. This was like super amazing to reconnect and to also be able to share you guys together to be able to see the connection we have and like all the stuff that Scott has to provide. So it was really fun. And also I wanted to say, like, I miss all of the connections from the weekly transit also. Like, we had so many people always writing us and we're talking about them and their issues, and you know, people opening their hearts and everything to us. It was super fun to be able to experience all that with you.
Yes.
So hi, all the weekly transit followers, and I'd love to hear from you still.
I know I've had so many people reach out to me and say, what happened to Ingrid? I've looked for her on Instagram. I can't find her. And so I've shared your Instagram handle with a few different people. I'm like, she changed her name. So, but they're going to hear about you now. So, and you know, just one last word of encouragement for the two of you is just, you know, as you know, Ingrid, this is about it's about consistency. So just stick with it. Just keep putting out shows and bring people on, because I think it's really, you're really going to thrive when you bring on the other women and you interview them after you know, have kind of, you feel established, in just the two of you talking. That's where I think it's really going to take off. So yes, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to the Weekly Transit. Interviews and conversations from an astrological perspective. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, please email scott@theweeklytransit.com.